Our ancestors have never left us. They are in the fire within us, the fire in our bones, those whispers that we receive, messages in our dreams, and in every breath that you carry, every step that you take, they are there. And when we call them home, we do it not only to honor them, but to awaken ourselves. So today, we're going to step into that flame, the flame of ancestry, the wisdom that was never really lost, even though sometimes we may look at it as irrelevant, it doesn't matter now, or look at it through the lens of how is that going to help me now? Because that's old shit. We have to remember, we have to realize, we have to open ourselves up in order to know that the wisdom, it was never lost. It's just been waiting on us to tap in to remember. And so we're calling the wisdom home today, not as a much needed history lesson, but as that living fire inside of each and every one of us. Welcome back to season 4 of the You Are Immeasurable podcast. I'm your host, Tonesha Hyde, holistic business manager and alchemist, dragonfire energy healer, and revealer of the ancient truths. This space is where shadow work meets the dark feminine, where goddess power awakens in your bones, and where divine alignment becomes not just a way of life, but also how we do business. Together, we'll reclaim our fire, embody our sovereignty, and rise into the immeasurable truth of who we really are. So every Wednesday, a new episode will drop, and there will be bonus sparks of inspiration and special series throughout the season. So go ahead and grab your tea, your coffee, or your glass of wine, and let's journey together, because your power was never meant to be measured. It was meant to be remembered. The ancestral flames are the sparks that keep burning across generations, across timeline, across location. They're the gifts, they're the lessons, they're the strength and resilience that is carried forward even when people experience being silenced. They're not just stories. They're not just the past. What they actually are is the living codes written in our blood, in our bones, and they give life in every single breath. When you light the ancestral flame, what you're doing or what you're saying is, I refuse to forget. I refuse to allow my ancestors' wisdom to be erased. I will hold you dear and I will carry your wisdom forward. And let's be real about it. Anything or anyone that seeks to oppress us or hold us back or shrink us, they do have a fear of that ancestral remembrance. And why do they have that fear? Because even though we may not remember, they do. They remember what it was like when we dug deep, when we came together, when we joined hands and linked arms. And that is what keeps us from having to live the lie of isolation. When we remember that we're not powerless, when we remember that we're not disconnected unless we choose to be, that is what ancestral wisdom, ancestral remembrance, and ancestral veneration is all about. We have to think that why was it so important for the colonizers to make sure that we were severed from our bloodlines? Why was it so important to rename us? Why was it so important to strip us of our native languages and our rituals? It's because they feared that fire that came with remembrance. Because that flame all by itself makes us unstoppable. And if you didn't know, the dark feminine lives in this remembrance. That is the essence that you experience when you walk with the ancestors into the underworld, in the shadow, in those places that you were told not to look, not to poke around, not to inquire about, because that's where the truth is. And we now understand that the descent into those places, that leads to the connection. Shadow leads to fire. Calling the ancestors home has nothing to do with worshiping death, but it has everything to do with awakening and life. And you might ask, okay, so if this is something that I was interested in, if this is something that I wanted to explore, how would I do that? What would something like that look like? Well, as with most things, it can look how you want it to look, but a simple little easy practice that anyone can do at home in your own safe personal space. You can light a candle and just speak the names of your ancestors out loud. If you want to go a little further, you can actually build an altar with photos, offerings, objects, little personal trinkets, or things that remind you of them. If you have things that were theirs or things that were gifted to you by your ancestors, you can use those. Or you can just sit in silence and ask, what wisdom do you want me to carry, not only now, but to future generations? And when you're doing this, it's not about the performance. It's not about the theatrics. You have to be focused. You have to tap in. You have to open yourself and you have to listen. The answers can come in many different ways. They may come in whispers. They may come to you in dreams. They may come to you in small synchronicities that some may see as unimportant or inconsequential. But know that when you call on the ancestors, sugar, they coming. So I want to leave you with this, something for you to reflect on, something for you to think about. Ask yourself or inquire of your ancestors. What is the ancestral flame that is waiting for me to light in my life? What is the wisdom that has been knocking at the door of my spirit, asking to be remembered, that I may have ignored or overlooked? Remember, the ancestors are not gone. They are right here, and they're just waiting on you to reach out, open the door, create the space, and call out to them and call their wisdom home. Until next time, remember, you are the flame. You are the bloodline. And you, my love, are immeasurable. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the You Are Immeasurable podcast. My prayer is that something in today's conversation sparked a remembering or a shift and maybe a softening in your soul. If you love this episode, please share it with someone who also needs this medicine, and make sure you're following the show so that you never miss a new activation. Also, come connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, or even TikTok. My handle on all social media platforms is @Agitator Hyde. Also, I want you to know that my DMs are always open if you want to go deeper, if you have questions, or you just want to share what listening to the podcast has unfolded for you. Beyond anything, I want you to remember that your power, your path, and your purpose are already within you. You are not broken. You're blossoming. You are becoming, and you are immeasurable. So until next time, be well, stay bold, and always stay true to the divine within you.